this looks better for a home game at least.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you again, everybody, for joining us today. Coach, your thoughts on today's game?
Yeah, of course. Delighted that we've come away with 3 points. I did feel at one point that we should have extended our lead. In fact, numerous points we should have extended our lead again. And I think in the end, it offers an opportunity for Miami to build some pressure, which really brings about some other qualities for this team. We're in that world, same as Miami, where we're trying to find some identity, some connection, and certainly, try and read some of the important qualities in a game. And the chances have come and gone. Missed penalty is never nice to see, to extend the lead and give us a little bit of a buffer. And in the end, there was some very genuine, determined, and character-based displays that gave us the 3 points. So, we've really ticked a lot of boxes tonight. Guys like Walker were an absolute colossus at the end. And, ultimately, a wonderful return. Pleased to be back here and pleased with the display.
Thank you, Coach. We will open the floor for questions. We will begin with a question from Tim Sullivan from Up and Country. But before we do that, just a reminder, we're going to use this session as a match day -2 as well. So I will proceed in a little bit after answering your questions to ask Coach about Wednesday's game. In the meantime, Tim, please go ahead.
Gary, what is the process that you guys go through in determining a penalty taker in practice and training?
I believe Hani was penalty taker for his last club. There's been numerous occasions that, we've looked at penalty takers in training, certainly in more enjoyable moments. But if you look at the way Hani deals with dead ball situations, I'd back Hani to score 6 or 7 times out of 10 from the edge of the box, let alone from the penalty spot. So, it's disappointing. I thought he tried to be a little bit too aggressive with the effort, but nevertheless, we've seen it happen before. It's disappointing for the team and for Hani, of course, but ultimately, the result is most important. It created a difficult end to the game. But we certainly had enough moments.
We will go on with a question from Drake Hills from the Tennessean.
Gary, unlike Wednesday when Orlando, it seemed like their midfield was the catalyst for their win and the way they played. Would it be true for Nashville tonight that starting with Brian and with Anibal were really the catalyst for not only the start of the match, but obviously getting the goal and also controlling and creating problems for Miami's midfield as well with Matias and with Victor as well. That would be one reason, but also with Randall Leal kind of starting in a more central area as opposed to having to defend and attack from out wide.
Well, look, first and foremost, let's look at Brian Anunga. His very first start in MLS, his full debut. He plays 90 minutes. Absolutely outstanding in midfield. In fact, there were probably only 1 or 2 moments in the game that I might have put into question in his display. It was exactly what the team needed. More bite, more energy. The guys that have played in there were certainly needing a rest, and it enabled me to rotate that a little bit more. And, to that degree, I'm so pleased for the lad. He's an incredibly genuine person. But you're right, Drake. I felt that we lost that battle against Orlando. We needed a bit more energy in there, a change for Randall, a bit of a change of perspective and focus. Gives us a different edge, and he's a different type of player to Hani, of course. And again, it gave Hani an opportunity to just give himself a bit of respite, come on and inject something into the game. And I've got to be honest, I thought he was a real catalyst for the group when he came on, earns the penalty, gives us an opportunity. And all in all, that area of the field was one that tonight we certainly looked more accomplished in.
With another question from another member of the Tennessee and Gentry Estes.
Yeah, hey, Gary. I know there's nothing you guys can do about not having fans in the stadium, but given how the first game here went back in February, how weird was that tonight?
You know, you're looking at polar opposites. The opening fixture of the season was just electric. You know, probably exceeding certainly my expectations of what this stadium would offer and the fans and just the support that we encountered. And tonight, you know, voices are echoing around such a big arena. So it's very, very difficult. It's difficult for all teams that are playing without fans. And I think the one thing that I've heard multiple times and, you know, totally agree with, and maybe we realise as coaches and players and football clubs, soccer clubs, that, you know, fans are important, of course, but I don't think ever before have we realised just how important the fans are. They are the game. And, you know, you feel it tonight. I mean, the energy that the players have to create, you know, pretty much on their own. And, of course, the excitement and the passion when you win a game. You know, that's lost this evening. And, unfortunately, we'll probably have to wait a little while before we see it again.
We have another question from Ben Wright with the Speedway Soccer.
Yeah, Gary, we've seen a couple of appearances from Alex Mule off the bench, but what did you make of him in his first start for Nashville?
Well, listen, Alex has had a 2-week quarantine period coming from the Red Bulls. Not easy for any players that are moving clubs at the moment because they just cannot connect with their new teammates straight away. Alex is a very fit and determined player in general. And I honestly felt that he may need a little bit more time to get himself into the right sort of groove for the group. We've had very, very little time to work as a team in a shape, and for Alex to really take on board maybe some of the different nuances, you know, between us and the Red Bull. But, you know, he's shown he's an intelligent soccer player as well as a determined one. And I thought tonight that there were occasions where he showed both sides of his abilities. He's a really, really good team player when we haven't got the ball. And you see that, you know, when the opportunity comes along, he's in the goal scoring zones. He's in an area where he's attacking the ball. And I'm still yet to be convinced that it's not a goal. So, you know, he's ticking all the right boxes at the moment, and he's got another hour under his belt after a, you know, real competitive display tonight.
We have a question from Nayeli Alamilla with El Jefe.
Hi, Coach. Thank you so much for accepting the questions. How do you feel now with your first win at home? And do you feel a relief with the team's performance?
I think you get into a world where, you know, you're looking at displays. And when I say that, obviously performances of the team. We've been away from home. It's been very, very difficult for the group, full stop. You know, of course, I'm pleased with the win. I'm absolutely delighted that the guys get to taste victory again. I think it was necessary for us just to give us a bit of a shot in the arm after some really good periods and moments away from home that, you know, I genuinely feel should have bagged us more points than we had. But, you know, in the end, the table doesn't lie. We didn't pick up points against Orlando when the early stages of the game really warranted that. So, you know, the pressure starts to build a little bit. It doesn't matter what the circumstances are. When you come back home, you really want to get the very best out of your home field. And there were many, many things tonight that have taken us in a positive direction. There was a lot of possession and management of the ball that we've not achieved away from home as well. we still managed to find ourselves 3 or 4 very good goal scoring opportunities. We've kept our goal intact, albeit at the end with some serious pressure. But I think honestly that's born out of some missed opportunities. And I'm hoping we'll learn from that. But as I said to somebody earlier, you know, this group's got to learn how to dig in and learn how to win games. And tonight will go a long way to building the character in the group.
We have one question from Claudio Villalobos. Claudio?
Yes, Gary. It seems to us that Anibal Godoy play a different position, or at least with different responsibilities tonight, and you gave him a chance to roam a little bit freer in the middle of the field. Would that is that a correct assessment, or is it just happens because of the way the game turned out?
You're talking about a very, very intelligent and high caliber individual. You know, Anibal's probably been more renowned for some of his, you know, defensive play and possessional play. And his record would tell us that he doesn't score many goals. But honestly, I think he's an extremely capable individual. And the one thing that Anibal is also, you know, an experienced player at is seeing moments. And the goal comes out of a set-piece situation, goes out at the back post. He finds himself in a good position. He doesn't get excited. When we needed it most, you know, somebody has come out of nowhere, an individual that we probably least expected, and he's shown some high quality. I mean, it's a difficult finish on his unfavoured foot. He's naturally left-footed, but he's shown wonderful quality. And, you know, I said deserved winner of the game.
Before we go on with a couple follow-up questions, Coach, as we look into returning on Wednesday to play Orlando, how do you address the quick turnaround?
Well, 2 days is not a long time to get ourselves back on track and to try and be in, you know, a place to compete again. But I think we're seeing across the league, teams are having to, you know, dig deep and rotate players and make sure that the team that they put out on the field is competitive, and one that in many ways offers opportunities that might not have happened for players, you know, in a regular season. So if you look at somebody like Brian Anunga, you know, maybe that moment wouldn't have come along if we'd have been playing weekend after weekend and no midweek games. And he's, you know, he himself has given a display that certainly puts him in a very positive light in my mind. But, you know, we're going to run into one of the informed teams again on Wednesday. Watch their performance against Atlanta, and they certainly look as though the tournament down in Orlando has given them a tremendous foundation. One, to put them in a very sharp and strong physical position. 6 games is certainly more than most had played at the point at which they're in the into this second phase of the schedule. And secondly, you know, it's given them confidence, and they've got some talented players in that group, and they look very, very fluid. You know, there's some nice connections, and they'll come here thinking that they can certainly earn all 3 points again. My hope is that the guys that go out there are certainly buoyed and have a shot in the arm from tonight's result, and we'll certainly be putting our best foot forward and trying to make this a result that we can turn around from what was 6 days ago.
We have time for 2 more questions. We will address the first one from Tim Sullivan.
Gary, you mentioned when you were preparing for the second game against Dallas that it's such an unusual situation to have games in quick succession against the same team over and over again. Does that give you, I know you have a game in the middle here, but does that kind of give you a bit of an advantage as you prepare to do a pretty similar thing against Orlando this week?
Yeah, I don't know if it's an advantage, Tim. I think it, you know, we certainly came away from the game last Wednesday and realised, you know, just how good they were in certain areas, you know, just how effective someone like Nani still is. You know, it's our first opportunity to run into what is, you know, a very good team. And as I said, they're in a good place. They're confident, they're fresh, they're sharp, they look strong. They look as though, you know, they've really got the bit between their teeth. There's many aspects of their game that are tough to stop at the moment. Both their fullbacks are very attack-minded. Indeed, you know, the left-hand side produced their opening goal last Wednesday. Their midfield looks extremely well drilled, and they've got, you know, talent galore up front and good rotation. So, you know, we won't have long. We certainly will keep some of those qualities in mind, and hopefully on our home field with a confident result tonight, it will put us in a better place.
We will finish today's availability with Coach Smith with a question from Dre Hills with the Tennessean.
Gary, so Daryl Dike is a player who's really kind of caught on probably right around when you guys went up and faced him. Obviously, he scored against Miami. He had a couple against Nashville as well. What you saw on film and how you prepared for him this past week, as opposed to in comparison to how you prepare for him this week, what will be some things that you'll be talking to Walker and Dave and really the entire team about Daryl?
Well, yeah, you're right. He was very influential in the game last week, and you know, he's a young player that looks like he's, you know, full of desire and passion, and he's a very strong boy with, you know, good ability to bring others into the game. But for all forwards, hitting the back of the net, you know, gives him, you know, a huge lift. And for him, in his first appearances in the league, you know, he'll feel $1 million. There's no doubt about that. I think the simplest answer to your question is that our two centre-backs, obviously, should they be playing, will have a much better understanding of what the boy is capable of. They won't have run into him before. They may well have been caught off guard. We were certainly in a position of fatigue. There's no two ways about it. Not sure that's going to change an awful lot on Wednesday night. But nevertheless, those two guys will be ready for whatever's thrown at them. And I think the game last Wednesday will have served them well to be ready for this week.
Thank you, Coach, and thank you, everyone. We will be bringing Brian Anunga and Anibal Godoy momentarily. So hang tight. Thank you. Right. Thank you, everybody, for hanging in there for a couple of minutes. Here with us today, we have Brian Anunga and Anibal Godoy. Brian had his debut in Major League Soccer today, and Anibal scored his first goal for Nashville SC. So your thoughts on the game, your thoughts on your debut, Brian?
I feel like it was an awesome game. I mean, as a debut, you know, playing against Miami and having Anibal next to me, and he was guiding me, helping me. The older guys, you know, Walker, Dave, they're all helping me to make my debut much easier. So I couldn't be much happy to have these guys playing around these guys. You know, they just made everything easier, and it was great.
Thank you, Brian. Anibal, your thoughts on the goal? How did it take place?
It's a great moment for me, and I think it's the best for the team. For the team, I think for me, if the team win, this is the more important for me. I don't care if I score or whatever score. I think for me, this is the more important in this moment. I feel happy because we take the 3 points home. This is what we need, and this is why we need to continue for the next couple of games.
Thank you. We will now open up the floor for questions, and we will begin with a question for you, Anibal, from Dre Hills with the Tennessean.
Anibal, congratulations on the goal. I wanted to ask you about the way that you play. We're hearing from Gary talking about much of your reputation is your defensive talents, but obviously you've shown that you can attack as well or be a part of the attack. based off of your performances and with your fit in Nashville, do you think that you can be more attacking in the midfield?
No le escuché muy bien.
Drake, would you mind being a little bit more concise with the question?
Sure. Anibal, do you think that you can be more of an attacking midfielder than usual?
Que si puede jugar más al ataque dentro del medio campo
I like to play box to box, you know. But for example, when you have like one player like Brian, like he's like more holding player and he's like more tactical player. I think I feel more comfortable to try to go a little bit more higher because I have support behind me. This is why for me I don't have problem if I play like holding midfielder or box to box. This is depend in the moment, depending what is the formation, what is the shape we have in the team. But I feel great if I play central midfielder or box to box.
Thank you. We will continue with another reporter from the Tennessean Gentry Estes with a question for the two of you.
Yeah, I guess, Anibal, from how different was this game versus the first one at Nissan, considering you didn't have fans tonight?
Que sí, qué tan diferente fue este partido comparado al del 29 de febrero al no tener aficionados.
It's difficult. It's difficult. We know everybody wants to play with the fans, but we know what happened in this moment. It's difficult time for everybody in the world, but we need to play. It's great if the fan is here with us, but I know we understand what happened in the States or in the world. And this is why we need to continue to play like this because it's the more important for us. Tomorrow is other day. We need to start to think about Orlando for Wednesday. I think this game we need to forget now too quick because we have only 2 days for rest and for start to play again. This is why for the fans, for us, it's great, but we need to play like this.
Brian, we have a question for you from Team Sullivan for Club and Country.
Brian, obviously you played against Gary with the Charleston Battery. How familiar were you with him at that point? And then how exciting is it to now kind of have them have shown faith in you to sign you and now make your debut?
Obviously, yeah, I played against Gary, and it wasn't fun back then, but it was. I always look forward playing against Nashville because obviously, you know, as a player, you always want to play against a good team, and it was Gary was always up to the task and putting out a good team, and obviously Charleston back then we also had a good team, and it was always a good game, so it was always a pleasure.
We have a question from Johnny Peña with Johnny Peña International. Johnny? Johnny?
Yeah, I am here. Thank you. Congratulations for winning today. Anibal, the coach Gary said a lot of times in last interviews, we looking connection all the time. I saw that connection until minute 60. 60 minutes, I see the connection. When you go out, exactly in that minute, the team lost the connection. Do you think that happened today?
No, it's the moment. We need to try to find the moment. The team understand what happened after the goal. This is not about one player. This is not about only me. This is about the team. This is why we have so many players in this field, in this team, for a lot of quality. This is why we need to be ready for the moment. I think play well. Sometimes we need to play like this or try to win the game. For sure, if we hadn't scored the second goal, for sure, other team try to going up in the game, you know. But you need to sacrifice sometimes yourself or win the game.
We have a question for the two of you coming from Claudia Villalobos.
Yes, Brian and Anibal. not always when a team wins plays the best, not always when a team loses plays the worst. So my question goes like this: for the upcoming game, does Nashville need to play more like you guys did today, or more like you did on the losing effort on the last game?
For me, I think for me, I just think like we have to, sometimes you have a game plan, and so we always try to stick with the game plan from the coach. So obviously we try to control the game, but sometimes the game gets away from you with the amount of games played. You know, Anibal has played almost 4 games. You know, your heavy legs, there's very few rotation in the squad. So I mean, I just think like we're getting there, and so it's not that easy.
Anibal.
Yes, I think when you play home, we want to win every game away on home. But when you play home, you have this pressure, you know, for try to win more because you're home. But we play really well the last 3 games. But sometimes the football is like this. When you play well, you lose. When you play bad, you win. But this is why sometimes we need to stay in the game plan. If the game plan is not right, we need to change inside the field. We need to try to take the moment short one, because when you think inside the field, it's too short. We don't have the moment to think. This is why when you have like one thing like Miami like this, they try to play. You need try to control in defense. This is why we do tonight.
Thank you both. We will finish today's availability with a question for you, Brian, from Drake Hill.
If I may, I want to reflect the question for Brian and for Anibal. I wanted to ask about how they viewed the midfield of Orlando City. I know, Brian, you didn't play, but I'm sure you were in the film room. You were studying them before the game. And for Anibal, obviously, you played. How will you see Orlando's midfield this time around as opposed to last week?
Yes, Orlando have not only the midfielder, they have a lot of good players in front. They have confidence now because they win like the last 2 games for the season, and it's tough. It's tough for us. It's tough. Every game is tough, but we need to control. We need to control the game. We need to try to stop the more key player for this team. I think. Nani, Mendes, in the midfielder, Pereira, they have a lot of good quality, but also we have a lot of good quality here. This is why we start to rest now tomorrow and to start to preparation the game for Wednesday.
Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, I watched the game, and obviously Orlando has a lot of good players, and I feel they have a lot of momentum coming from the Orlando tournament that we missed, and they had a lot of good momentum where they have that cohesion between the midfielders, and they know exactly where to move and how to play, and they understand each other. Where we've had so many opportunities to play, and we have little setbacks, but I mean, I feel like we're getting there. But I feel like to play Orlando, I mean, we're gonna make it a little bit physical for them and restrict those guys to have time on the ball and to be picking up those passes to find Nani and the front players.
Thank you both, and thank you everybody for joining us today. We look